All right, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that'll be 10 logs. Each one of them are too big to fit on my sled. I can't resaw through them because of the depth from the corner to the corner is too high. So I'll have to rip them down with the middle with a chainsaw. Anyway, them are some big old logs. Oak, red oak. Surprise. All right, this was delivered to me a couple days before Christmas. And them things are pretty hefty. They're 4.5 inches thick, and they're about probably 25, 30 inches long. And outside I have some logs that are about this tall. There's just right at 4 feet, and they are big. Anyway, so what I've been doing is my rib on this outside of this, there's a burr on the outside of this. I tried multiple Dremels to hit it. I bought a new file at Lowe's to hit it because my other cheaper set, it was just grinding. There wasn't no file left on it. That blade's hard. Then I thought, well, okay, it's time to pull the big gun out. So I brought this out, and this is the only thing that I could do to knock that burr down. It was significantly, pretty big. Of course, I just set it to the teeth with the tool setter here not too long ago. But it's probably done like 6-8 cuts with the tooth cutter. So anyway, we're gonna fire it up and see if we can get that to cut. And so that's sharpening the blade. All right, a few things on the agenda here. I've got a dehumidifier that I picked up. I'm building a KILN, and I bought one of these Duramax heaters. The advantage of this heater is the fan still blows even though the heat setting's off, so the fan just blows all the time, which is a plus. And they say I may not need this controller for this fan because it turns off about 140 degrees either way. So I may not really have needed that. It's $20, $25 or so. But anyway, this is 1500 watts. So that means that this would burn this up if I switched off of 750 and went to 1500, because this will take 1100 watts. So I needed something between this and this, so that was less than 1100 watts. So that's why I built this right here. This is just a furnace contactor, and basically power comes in from the wall and it hits this with a cord. It comes in here, and one side of it goes over to the contactor to feed the hot side. And when it's contacted, it goes out and it feeds this, and it bypasses this. So, but this controls that, and basically there's a cord that comes out of here that plugs into this thermal switch, which is on the heat cycle. So when this sends electricity, it fires back here on this little 5-watt contactor, and it energizes it. So then it turns the 110 20 amp service to the heater, and then so one side is just like normal electricity, the other side is the switched to the fan. So on the plugs I have switched, and then I have back to the wall outlet. So that's kind of what we have there. So all working good, and we're set. And then of course I did tag these to plug into the controller, and this one here says plug into house outlet. So that's what that does. I've got to build a box that'll go around it, probably about 6.5, 7 by 7 maybe, and I'll build that box and have that part of it inside the kiln. Anyway, so that's what I'm doing with that. All right, not every good idea I have is a good idea. And I had put some little rollers down in here to kind of keep this from moving around. What I was doing is I was putting this in a bind. And I'm thinking that I'll probably end up get another unistrut with the bearing with the wheels down in there. But anyway, right now I took those back off because it was putting in too much of a bind. It was causing stress on my bolts and stuff. So anyway, something that I'm going to probably do on this is take me a piece of square tubing and get these 2 bolts to tie with this into that. So, or put a piece of metal across the top of these to tie them in together. And probably do something very similar to the same on that one as well. Anyway, I came around to the Franken Sled, and I got tired of having to lift the log up over the kerf right here, because I had these 2 coming up and down, and it was a pain. So what I did is I come up and went and got a piece of this 90-degree channel, or whatever you want to call it, and then I drilled holes in it and I flushed these up. My sled still rides across it, so it won't get hung up, preferably. And then this, I put more in there, more support across this. This was the old support board, and of course it's this guy right here, and turns it off and on. So I put that back on. And anyway, long story short is I wanted to keep this right here from coming up and down so much. So the old Franken Sled got a little modification yesterday, put in there, and so I'm thinking that's going to do pretty good on that. In the process of sharpening these with the Dremel, I was using a smaller bit, 5/32, and it fit inside the gullet here better, but it wasn't getting out here to the very end of the tips of the blade. So whenever I was doing it, it wasn't quite making it as pricky as I wanted it to be. Of course, this one here is getting pretty dull, but as you can see, when that's in the right spot, it's getting out to the very end of the blade, and it's grinding that up. So I went down to the Ace Hardware and picked up a couple more of these, and they're a 7/32 deal. Now that's all dependent on your blade make and stuff, but anyway, if you can get one that'll cut the back side of that tooth all the way in to where that leaves the very tips of the tooth sharp and pricky, that's what you want to do. Of course, what I'm doing with this is, of course, I run it, and what I do is I run it right through here. Get my big old hand out of the way here. All right, and of course this one here is out, but I'll run it back and forth like this, and then I scrape it off the top of the tooth on the last stroke. Run it back and forth like this, and then scrape it off like that to where it's. And I do the same thing, and like that. Of course, I mark the weld with a piece of masking tape all the way around it. But anyway, the 7/32 drill chainsaw sharpener is the best fit, and this blade's cutting probably as good as it was when it was new. And another thing that I learned was every now and then between sharpenings, get you one of these stones from Harbor Freight and set it to 600 grit, and I'll run that like that, and then I just run the blade back and forth like this, and just by hand, and that'll sharpen those tips up just a hair, in between using Dremels. So that, and then also for the back of the blade, this guy right here, using this on the back end of the blade, like right here, with the saw actually running on the back side, and running it, it'll take this burr and knock this burr down. I'm pushing red oak through this thing, hardest stuff I've ever cut through it, and it's pushing that up against thrust bearing back here. And I've checked the thrust bearing, and the thrust bearing's fine, but it's with the weight. If you was to push these logs through by hand, it'll wear you out in about, in one log you'd be worn out totally. So because there's just a lot of force going through, and that's why I have the winch going on. And anyway, so it's putting a lot of pressure on here, and it's causing this to give me a little bit of a burr. So I'm having to control that, as well as keeping my teeth set and keeping them sharp. And this little guy right here, excuse me, so guy right here, it's a $20 tooth set. Probably, well, it saved the life on this blade. And that little you do is you put your, of course, you put your tooth in there like so, and get it in there, and it basically pushes it on. But I'm not doing that out here because I can't get in front of it. I pull this all open and get to the side and put it on. But this guy right here is sitting at 4, and it'll go down there and it'll set each one of these teeth differently. And if you can't feel the set, then you've lost it. So that's the important thing. And I'm kind of just doing a little review on everything that I'm using to get this going. And between these things right here and there, this is the winner. I've tried the file on the back of it. It'll just eat a file up because that blade's so darn hard. And these are the Grizzly, I think 2 teeth per inch. And, it does a good job of doing it. So these are some of the updates I've got on the Franken Sled and sharpening and all that good stuff. Everything's working really well. And I've got 6 of them big logs out there that I'll probably start tackling today. And those other slabs, turned them in like 4x4 beams, 4x6 beams, or 5x6 beams. So anyway, so she's going pretty good shape. And there's a Miss Collie, by golly. And she wanted to come out here to the shop with me and work for a little while. So anyway, a couple days after Christmas. In fact, today's my brother's birthday. So I need to call him and tell him I'm thinking about him today. And there we go. So lots of fun today. I'm going to be sawing logs again.